What are things parents should never say to their children? I wish I never had you. My ex's mom used to say this to him a bunch of times. I personally liked her as a person, but she was a terrible mother. Apparently she had never wanted kids, but then her and her husband moved out to California because he was in the military. She was lonely and all the other military wives were getting pregnant, so she decided to have a baby and pretty much regretted it immediately. His dad was a really good dad for the most part and adored his son, but it doesn't really make up for his mom letting him know she didn't. It led to him having an obsessive need for everyone to like him, to the point he often surrounded himself, and by extension me, with a bunch of users. I joke I didn't so much as break up with him, but his friends. Never tell a child that the divorce is their fault. Except that one person that apparently forged an affair between her parents to get out of getting yelled at for a party. They eventually got divorced over it. It was definitely her fault. Reddit story? I scroll through so many forms of social media I legit cannot recall where I saw it. My apologies for failing you on the source. LMAO, I remember back when I was like 10. My mom didn't take me to school one morning because she was upset that the clothes in my dresser weren't folded. My dad had to take me to school instead. And on the way there, he yells, "You're tearing this family apart." I'm like, bruh, if unfolded clothes in a dresser is what tears this family apart, then you all have other shit to be concerned about. I feel your pain. Parents going ape shit over the smallest, dumbest shit, as a cover for the real problems they're too chicken shit to address. I don't remember that never happened, when a kid brings up a past trauma. Well, even if it did happen, and I still say it didn't, at least that's not as bad as X, Y, or Z, so you should be grateful. Was one of my mom's go-to lines. It didn't happen. And if I did, it's not that bad. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. My dad always says I don't remember that, but I believe you when discussing anything he did when we were kids. Man just has a shitty memory. A huge part of it is how time is perceived by the brain/person. As a child, every day brings brand new experiences and new things to learn. A year as a child is a really long time. But when you become an adult, especially holding down a job, running a home, raising a kids, the days and what you do start to blur together. The day may be normal, but the weeks and months whiz by so fast. As an anecdote, I am nearly 40, and my father is in his 70s. He brings up a girlfriend I had in high school when I was 16 from time to time because he sees her at Menards. Mind you, the two of us dated for like 3 months. But to him, it wasn't that long ago, and she is the only girlfriend he recalls me having in high school. I'm not saying the trauma isn't real, or that it is okay. I'm saying that older people sometimes don't remember what happened. To them, it was just another day. Or as the saying goes, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. This just happened yesterday when I asked my mom why the kids today, when getting spanked, the parents get a warning from social welfare. I told her that when I was young, I am now 23, I get spanked often with a belt, and my pops even bought a small spanking paddle with the quote "spare the rod, spoil the child" written on it. She then just gaslight me, saying that it was never used on me and it was only an item for intimidation. I mean, come on, I still have some of the scars on my upper leg, and she says those are just stretch marks. Don't make your kids do the things you're afraid to face. When I was a kid, my mom dumped all that shit on me. Rent late? I had to face the landlord. She'd try to convince me it was a fun game, like see how fast you can run to his door, drop a check in the mail slot, and run back to the car. Even at 10 years old, I knew it wasn't a damn game. All she was doing was transferring her anxiety directly to me. Be honest with your kid about the shitty situations you might be in, but don't make them carry the weight in your place. I can imagine what a parent in this situation might be thinking. Kid doesn't know about rent and stuff. They run around and pretend to be on secret missions all the time. If I send them to go do a secret thing in a hurry, that's just another game, right? But it's not just another game, and that's obvious because nobody's playing. The story they tell is kids don't know fantasy from reality. But kids in messed up situations distinguish fantasy from reality constantly, habitually, even obsessively, they have to. I had to answer the phone for her when bill collectors called. I had to run in and order ridiculous ice cream sundaes she was too embarrassed to order for herself. If we were cashing in change at a bank so she could get cigarettes, I was the one she sent inside. If she needed to ask a relative for money, I had to come along too. When we were getting evicted, I had to go to the landlord's house with her. I too was an emotional support child, and no parent should ever put their kid in that position. This is kind of a low bar as far as bad things my parents did goes. When I was a kid, my parents were very controlling. Now, that meant, among other things, that they didn't let me go outside, for fear that neighbor kids would wander by and I'd hear things that went against my parents' ideologies. It also meant that they controlled exactly what and how much I ate. As in, if I didn't want to clean my plate, I was beaten. Well, I was also a fat kid, and given how much control I had over both my food intake and the exercise I could do, I didn't have much say in the matter. My parents gave me so much shit about it over the years though. Like, even if you were allowed to have some agency in your life, you shouldn't get that kind of shit. It was pretty miserable. Anyway, when I went away to college, I was finally on my own, and I took charge of that. Everybody was warning me about the freshman 15, but I was looking my intake. That's not great, of course, but I lost a couple pounds. Not even that much. And then I went back home for winter break, and my parents are all, "Oh, you're too thin, you need to eat more," and I'm like, "No, I'm good thanks." At one point, Dad said, "Eat more or I'm kicking you out of my house." And so I gained that weight back over the break, and by the end, they were back to giving me shit about it. So, I dunno. Maybe don't be such a dick about your kid's weight. Certainly not with demands and expectations that oscillate between two extremes like they did. Edit, to be clear, when I said that it was a low bar, I meant that they also hit us for far dumber reasons than not eating all our food. Wow dude, I'm sorry. When I was a teenager, I was extremely insecure about my double chin. I didn't have a huge one, but it would show up a little bit if I smiled in pictures. When I used to vent about it to my mother, she would just say that I should get plastic surgery on it when I'm older. Didn't realize until way later how messed up that is to say to your kid, sad face. Until you start paying bills, you have no rights, so you're damn right I'm coming into your room whenever I feel like it, and I can take anything I want from it too, because it's actually mine. You're too stupid and lazy to be able to make in the real world. And if someone ever did hire you, they'd fire you as soon as they realized what a mistake they'd made. You have no idea how much you cost me. I could do X, Y, or Z thing if I didn't always have to pay for your crap. We're free thinkers in this house. Rages when I express a thought/opinion that's different than theirs. You're just a kid, what do you have to be depressed about, / you have nothing to be depressed about. After I told a doctor how I was actually feeling. You can't be that stressed, you're just a kid. Are you trying to make me look like a bad parent? Yes, I'm in therapy now.